Kia ora guys, welcome back to the Black Jersey. My name's Max, I'm the host of this channel. A big thank you to my patrons as per normal, and thank you to my returning viewers. Today's video is going to be on my predicted squad for Ireland for the 2023 Rugby World Cup. I've done some similar videos for the Springboks, All Blacks. I've done one for England that I'll need to redo now that I've got a new coach, and recently I did one for France, so you can check that out. We'll go all the way from loose head prop down to fullback, and I'm gonna give my 2 cents as to who I think the 33-man squad for Andy Farrell's team is going to be. So without further ado, we'll head over to Andrew Porter. He's such an obvious pick. He's a world-class player. He did need to transfer from tight head prop to loose head prop to become a regular starter for his team, but it's paid off. He's now played 53 tests at 27 years old, and the frame on this man is incredible. He carries hard, he tackles hard, and that scrum technique is absolutely brilliant. I picked him in my Six Nations team of the championship for very good reasons, because he is an awesome player. We'll now go to Cian Healy. This will be Cian Healy's 4th World Cup, considering he debuted for Ireland all the way back in 2009. He's played 123 test caps and he's 35 years old, so he'll be the most experienced player in this team. As the Irish team don't have crazy experience over at hooker, Andy Farrell's been going for a lot of experience over at prop, similarly to what Michael Cheika did for Australia back in 2019's Rugby World Cup. Healy's still good enough to play international rugby, plus he can cover hooker, so he's going to be in for sure. The third choice is David Kilcoyne, who was at the 2019 Rugby World Cup at 34 years old. He's accumulated 51 tests. He's got the ability to play on both sides of the scrum, and Munster have held on to him for a very long time, so he'll be looking to really just end his career on a high, and no better way to do it than a World Cup. Kilcoyne will enjoy this one very much. I wouldn't necessarily pick him myself, but Andy Farrell does see a lot of value in him, and at 34 he's by no means ancient, so if you want to balance the lack of experience at hooker with experience at prop, that's fair enough. Speaking of hooker, Rob Herring is the only guy at hooker that's played over 30 test caps. South African born, he's lived in Ireland since all the way back in 2012 when Ulster signed him, and man, he has really worn that old shirt from Rory Best with a lot of pride. This will be his first proper World Cup campaign, as he was a late call-up for the 2019 one. Rob Herring was very, very good at the start of the Farrell era. He remains good enough to play at test level, and I rate him very much as a line-out thrower. He's always in the right place at the right time, and he is exactly where he should be in the pecking order. Ronan Kelleher, he's had a few injuries, but he looks to have overcome those at the right time. Got 4 tries in a match at one stage for his country, and he's really developing into one of the world's best hookers there, rather. I do believe the Irish will be able to have 2 players in the Lions at hooker in 2025. I rate Kelleher very highly, and I'm really looking to see where he's going to fit into the plans. I want to see him give some impact off the bench, because he's just such a dynamic player in my opinion. Dan Sheehan, though, he's strung all those minutes at test level in a much more continuous phase compared to Keller, who's been the injured guy. Sheehan also plays for Leinster, so the both of them will really mix in well with the rest of the key decision makers in the team. After 17 tests, he's starting to look the goods. I rate him very highly and put him in my Six Nations team of the championship. He does appear to be Andy Farrell's first choice, so he's definitely going to go. Now over to tight head prop, Tyke Furlong. I don't have to say much more. Including his British and Irish Lions tests, he's accumulated 70 overall at 30 years old. He has been one of the best props in the world ever since 2016. He's showing no signs of slowing down, and getting a World Cup title would be an excellent way to cap off the career of one of the greats. Finlay Bealham seems to be the guy that's being trusted to go behind him. I really rate the mobility that Bealham's been showing recently. I was almost tempted to put him in my Six Nations team in the tournament because of the power he's showing in the tight spaces as well. He's by no means crazy experienced for a guy that's 31 years old, but he's very good form right now, so I do believe he'll deserve a place in the team. And Tom O'Toole, he is going to be one of the future legends of the team, I believe. He's showing some really good form right now. Just 10 test caps at 24 years old, but you don't want to pick a team that's too old. You do at least want to give some potential greats of the future a go in their early stages of their career, so I think it will be fair enough if Tom O'Toole goes. He did play some solid minutes in the Six Nations, so I think he's got a good chance. Now over at lock, Ian Henderson will be in for his third World Cup. He did have a bit of injury trouble during the Six Nations, but as a veteran of 2015 and 2019, as well as a two-time Lions tourist, his 72 test caps are going to be very valuable for the team, as will his ability to play flanker and the fact that he's been a bit of a captain for Ulster in the past as well. At 2 meters tall, he's a very trusty liner option as well. Tyke Byrne, though, will be starting at number 4 after 40 test caps at 31 years old. He's really just the epitome of one of these late bloomers that I didn't initially rate at first, but Andy Farrell just picks him over and over and over again, and there's no chance he isn't going to go if he's injury free. James Ryan, who's played 53 test caps at 26 years old, he's captained the team before, so he'll be a sure pick as well. As the tallest player in that team, he does get targeted at the line out a fair bit, and you know why. When he's got a frame like that, it's no wonder the hooker's always throwing the ball. He is definitely the heir apparent to Johnny Sexton, and since he's captained the team before, well, it's pretty obvious. Now, Ryan Baird. At the end of the Six Nations, he was chosen to start over Kieran Treadwell against England, and I do think he's played his way into the team. He's got a surprising amount of pace for a lock. I've been told he's also been able to cover flanker at club level. I haven't noticed him play any minutes at test level at flanker, but I'm going to have a look for my depth chart video later down the line. He is a very young player with a lot of potential, and you've got to build for the future. Andy Farrell's signed on to 2025, and so he's got to get in the team for me. Now over to flanker. Ian Prendergast just played 1 test, but in that tour to New Zealand, he looked good. Connacht have got themselves a real, just traditional modern 6. When we look back in the 2060s or so, we're going to look at guys who have this frame and think, yeah, that's a nice old school 6. He's 6'5" and 112 kg, so he's a very similar frame to Jerome Kaino, who's a former All Black, very similar frame to Sebastian Chabola, great for France, and I do think that I'm getting him in early now, giving him that experience. It's going to prep for a post-O'Mahony era, because Peter O'Mahony, who we've got over here, captains the British and Irish Lions before. He's captained Ireland before. He's a turnover-winning machine, a very good line-out jumper when he's lifted by both locks, and he's going to end his career on a high, I do believe. He's on 95 test caps right now, so I'd love to see him go out with a bang. Josh van der Fleer, I've taken this photo of him myself, hence why you see the watermark. He's played 50 tests. He's World Player of the Year, but I do believe this year he's had an even better year than in 2022. Because of all these factors, he's definitely going to be going on the plane. So we head over to Nick Timoney. Gavin Coombs is a little bit too much of a jack of all trades for my liking, and he didn't play any minutes that I could find in the Six Nations. He definitely didn't play in any of the games that I watched, that's for sure. Whereas Will Connors just doesn't seem to be on the radar anymore. When watching the tour to New Zealand, Nick Timoney appeared to be the most like-for-like possible replacement of Van der Fleer, whereas he has won a Man of the Match award at test level. He's just played 3 test caps, this Ulster man, but I do believe he is good enough to go to the World Cup, and I think when push comes to shove, Andy Farrell will probably want to go for him to cover for the potential loss of Van der Fleer, who hasn't had a lot of injuries, so maybe he's overdue for one, who knows. We'll now go over to number 8. Caelan Doris is going, there is no doubt about that. He is world class right now. He has definitely been the most improved player of 2023 so far, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Caelan Doris winning World Player of the Year one day himself. At 6'4", he's a very good line-out jumper, and he's so dynamic around the field. You just cannot go wrong with this guy. And Jack Conan, who I've also taken a photo of when they were in New Zealand, he's very good too. Jack Conan seems to be the guy who's lost out in the battle for the back row, but, you know, fair enough, because he's not quite the all-round player that the others are, but as an experienced guy who's coming along, growing into this team with age, I do think his 41 test caps are going to continue to be deployed off the bench. We'll have a bit of an ad break, then we'll discuss the backs first, guys. Righto, guys, over at halfback, Jamison Gibson Park. The dude was robbed of an All Black cap. He's a phenomenal passer, and in all likelihood, this is the guy who's played the most minutes at 9 in the Andy Farrell era. The Leinster cohesion in that spine has been so important in this era of Irish rugby, and Andy Farrell's not going to just forsake it and depart it straight before a World Cup. Jamison Gibson Park is going to be in for sure, as will Conor Murray, who is also going to be here for his 4th Rugby World Cup. Conor Murray's played 113 tests, he's captained the British and Irish Lions before, and he is a legend there rather in Munster's rugby history. 33 years old, he probably won't have too much longer on the test scene. He is starting to look like he's past his best, so this will likely be his farewell tour to France. Conor Murray was an absolute legend of the 2010s, and this will be a great way for him to go out with a 4th World Cup. Craig Casey, that man though, he is the future of the 9 jersey, especially with his club level teammate being the future of the 10 jersey. I think he's got himself on the plane for sure. He got trusted to start against Italy in the 2023 Six Nations. Well, at 5'5", he's very, very difficult to tackle. I met the dude before the Irish played the All Blacks at Eden Park. Tiny, and I'd be terrified attempting to tackle him because it would just be impossible. He's got a slick pass on him as well. I truly believe he's got a very, very high potential, so I'm very, very excited at the possibility of him being at a Rugby World Cup. We now move over to 10. Johnny Sexton has been injured right now. He has started to become a guy that's coming off in the last 10 minutes. So what I think is going to happen is he won't really play for Leinster at all until the end of their season. And then Andy Farrell's basically just going to wrap Sexton in cotton wool until the World Cup. Maybe he'll come off the bench a couple times in some warm-up fixtures while Ross Burns starts. But I do believe that's how they're going to preserve Sexton. The next time he plays for Ireland, he will be their oldest ever player, and if he can win the World Cup, he'll overtake Brian O'Driscoll as their greatest ever player. He's played a combined total of 119 tests when you take in Lions tours to account, and at 37 years old, wow, what a career he's had. Johnny Sexton is the most effective 10 in world rugby to this day because of the fact that he's an on-field coach, and one day I'm going to release a player analysis video on how effective he is. Ross Byrne, who I was talking about before, a true proper alpha male who I truly believe has overtaken Joey Carberry in the pecking order. Carberry may be the 10th the highest point scorer in Irish history, but Ross Byrne has just shown the mental toughness that he can be trusted in dire straits. He started against Italy and he closed that game against France out in combination with Casey. After just 19 tests at 27 years old, he's now starting to look up to it. Having been Sexton's teammate at Leinster for basically his whole career, he's basically the most like-for-like replacement possible of Sexton. I trust him to start in key games, and I actually hope that at this World Cup he starts against Scotland should Sexton be out for the playoffs. Ross Byrne will now go to Jack Crowley because Jack Crowley, like I said before, is probably the future at 10 jersey. He got such a late call-up to that game against Australia. He got a shock debut against Fiji, and he withstood the pressure at just 23 years old. He's not got a lot of experience at Test level, but as I said earlier, you do have to prep for the future. Andy Farrell's got a longer deal than this World Cup, and so Jack Crowley, I think, is going to sneak in over Joey Carberry. Now to the midfield, we've got the last photo I think that I took myself. Bundy Aki, he will also be looking to end his career on a high after 47 Test caps, including the 2021 British and Irish Lions tour. He's basically the perfect centre in the modern era. He's strong enough to get you over the gain line after a scrum. If he's got forwards behind him, he's a decent crash ball runner. He's got a very good short range kicking game, and he's one of the best distributors in the world who will plug holes on defence. He is going for sure, but I'm not quite sure which combo is preferred by Farrell. I do know that Gary Ringrose will definitely go if he recovers from the spinal injury sustained in his 50th test against Scotland. I'm unsure how long he's going to be out for. I haven't seen any updates, but if he's fit, he is going for sure. At 28 years old, he's still got a lot to give for his team, and he's got a lot of pace for a centre, a very valuable strike runner indeed. A bit worrisome on defence, but he's the glue that holds that back line together when Sexton isn't involved with a play. Robbie Henshaw, he'll be going for his 3rd World Cup. Personally, I'd like to see Henshaw start with Ringrose for the sake of the Leinster combination. Henshaw's accumulated 66 tests at just 29 years old. To think he's going to be turning 30 before his 3rd World Cup, that's just ridiculous. The man is a very similar player to Bundy Aki, but he can also be used as a strike runner after a lineout's gone, and so Robbie Henshaw, man, I do believe he is going to be one of the greatest Irish players of all time at the end of his career. We're now going to go over to Stuart McCloskey. I would not pick Stuart McCloskey myself, but Andy Farrell has given Stuart McCloskey a bit of game time as of late over James Hume, so I do kind of think that actually Stuart McCloskey may have just played himself into the World Cup. Though he's a big dude, he can at least kick, he can pass, so maybe Andy Farrell's onto something, and perhaps he sees him as the most like-for-like possible replacement of Robbie Henshaw, who is probably the most important of those midfielders. Not 100% sure, but either way, I'd love to see Henshaw and Ringrose starting and Aki off the bench, since Aki can cover both positions. Now over to the outside backs. The best Australian player in the world right now is Mac Hansen, who is the Irish right winger. Mac Hansen has been in phenomenal form right now, scoring so many awesome tries. He's coming in as an extra distributor. He's a reliable defender and he's got a great boot. He's going to the World Cup for sure. James Lowe's definitely going to go to the World Cup as well. He's got a little bit more strength than Hansen. Andy Farrell quite likes that by the looks of everything, so I'd say Lowe's a pretty safe bet after 20 tests for his adopted country. Now we go over to a bit of a controversial take that I've got. Jacob Stockdale cannot be relied on as an extra distributor like how Lowe and like how Hansen can, and neither can Andrew Conway. Keith Earls is starting to look a little bit too slow for Test rugby, so I do believe that Jimmy O'Brien, who's got a fair few minutes in recent times after having one heck of a debut against South Africa, has booked himself a place in this team. He's a fullback that can also cover winger and centre. At 27 years old, he's a very good age to be playing at a World Cup. He's not going to fumble the ball heaps like a lot of inexperienced players there rather, and the fact that he plays for Leinster means he can jump into that spine and you can trust him to do the goods because he's combining with his club level teammates. To finish this video off, Hugo Keenan's obviously going to go. I found it really hard to pick between Hugo Keenan and Toma Ramos for my Six Nations team of the tournament. Hugo Keenan is playing some fantastic rugby right now, and aside from O'Brien, basically nobody is trusted by Andy Farrell to wear the 15 jersey. Jordan Lama can't tackle, Keith Earls is getting a bit old, Jimmy O'Brien's more of a utility back, so Hugo Keenan wears that 15 jersey for sure. Thank you very much for watching this video, guys. Please let me know about any injury updates that I've missed down in the comments, as I can't like have all the time in the world to read every single country's updates. You can also go and check out my videos on World Cup predictions for the other teams, and you can support me over on Patreon or donate to my PayPal tip jar if you want to support this project. You can also head over to Instagram and you can head over to Twitter. And wow, what a video that was. Probably a bit long. I'll end it here. Cheers for watching, guys, from Max.